Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Reds Rundown Podcast, hosted by two lifelong Reds fans and journalists. I'm Rob, he's Joe, and we thank you for taking the time to join us today. Joe, you were wheeling and dealing all weekend in our fantasy league, so congratulations on a successful teardown of your team. But what else was going on for you?
Oh, not much. I'm just trying to show the Reds how a front office should work. Tear down and build up. But once you get to a point where you're at now, go make some moves, man. Go do something because this team stinks. I'm ready to talk about them.
Oh, yeah, it is going to be quite the, I don't know what I would call it, disappointment-filled, just full-on hand is basically on the panic button and ready to be pressed at any point kind of a show. So hopefully that'll be entertaining for all of you out there who are watching and or listening. Today, as always, we're going to go over games this week. Joe, we're going to go over the injury updates, which there are more than a few to say the least. The Reds did make a trade, Joe, for a relative of yours. Not really, but some of you will get that one. We're going to talk about the Reds overall. Kirk Herbstreit is calling out the Reds as well. We're going to talk a little bit about Chase Petty, and then we're going to head into the White Sox and Guardians. So I don't want to waste too much time here, Joe. We got a lot to go over. Question of the day is, what would you do with Chase Petty? To be honest, I have some thoughts on that. We are going to get into that one. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below, or hit us up on the Twitterverse. I'm going to run through these games real fast, Joe, because it was a pretty disappointing week. The Reds would lose 4-0 in Atlanta to start off the week. An unfortunate non-catch call on Tyler Callahan, where he went running into the left field wall, breaking his forearm. Very weird call there by MLB. Felt like the Reds were battling the umpires all week. This was the first time I really saw Terry get into it with an umpiring crew, but Brady Singer would unfortunately get kind of screwed over on that one. He would go 6 innings. It should have been 2 earned runs instead of 4. He didn't have his best stuff, but the rest of the bullpen would hold it down. But they would get 1 hit with your boy Espinal breaking off the no-hitter late in the game, but they would fall 4-0. They would go on to also lose in extras. This team cannot seem to figure out a way to win in extras to the Braves. They were up 1-0. Emilio Pagan would blow his second save, which would unfortunately screw the Reds over. Lyon Richardson would give up the base hit that it would take for the Braves to get it done 2-1. The Reds would have 7 hits in this game, but they couldn't string any together. It would take Santiago Espinal base hit to break it open and get them back in this game. Tyler Stevenson also, and something we'll talk a little bit about, struck out 5 times in this game. I believe that is called the Platinum Sombrero, if I remember correctly. The Reds would take one, though. They would win 4-3. They were up 4-0 early. Hunter Green would go out with a groin strain after just having an awesome start to the game. 6 Ks through 3 innings pitched. The bullpen would hold it down for the most part. Scott Barlow would get them in a little bit of trouble. TJ Friedl would have 2 big home runs off of Grant Holmes, and that would lead the Reds to victory 4-3, as that would be their lone victory in Atlanta. The Reds would lose yet again in extra innings after a late rally by the Braves. Graham Ashcraft would be the one to blow the save here after having a great season for the most part. Rhys Hines would have a huge 2-run home run off of Raisel Iglesias to give the Reds a nice lead. They were up 4-1, 4-2 at that point. But they were not able to hold on to it in extra innings, as Taylor Rogers would ultimately give up the walk-off hit for their second one in 3 days. So, Joe, this Brave series, we knew that they were tougher than their record. That was very true. But the biggest problem was that the Reds couldn't hit pretty much all weekend. They didn't hit with runners in scoring position. In all reality, when your pitchers give up what should have been 2 earned runs. I know it ended up being 4 for the inside the park home run for Matt Olson, but it was a great game by the pitchers for 4 straight games against a relatively good Braves lineup, and none of the hitting would come through whatsoever for them. And then everybody's going to blame the pitchers at the end of the game because they did blow the game. But wild week for the Reds there. I don't know that. This series sucked because it honestly felt like they could have swept this series, and instead they get out with 1 win.
Yeah, I mean, the whole series, you go through giving up 4 runs to the Braves, 2 runs to the Braves in 10 innings, 3 runs to the Braves, and then 5 runs to the Braves in 11 innings. That's a really good outing from your pitching staff, even bullpen included, even though the bullpen, we're seeing some leaks in the bullpen. I think that they want to shore up if they actually want to be competitive this year. But, this is all on the hitters at this point.
Yeah.
And the thing is there's too many good hitters in the lineup to be doing this and having these drastic ups and downs. We can take say, oh, the offense is great. We look so good with all the runs we scored. Okay, but the 24-run game against the Orioles and all these other games where we had these big outbursts, and then we have, I think we're on pace for the worst worst offense in terms of 1 or 0 run games in the live ball era at this point. Because that's what we do. We go and score 24 runs, and we score 1 or 0, and then we score 9, and then 1 or 0, and then 8, and then 1 and 0, 11, 1 and 0, and it's very frustrating. It's going to give us some droughts, and I think our stats are boosted by our schedule. When you take into account some of these big games we've had, we're scoring the runs against the Orioles, we're scoring runs against the Rockies, we're scoring runs against some games against the Cardinals, and other games not so much. So it's tough to kind of figure out, hey, we have good hitters, but it all seemed to get hot at once for 1 game in a series, and then they just completely shit the bed the rest of the time. There has to be someone in that lineup. Maybe it's one of these veterans like Austin Hayes, now that he's back healthy this past weekend. Or maybe it's Gavin Lux or someone who settles this down. Maybe it's Santiago Espinal is hey, our veterans need to be batting next to each other because we need to drive in some runs or something, because we can't have these big weeks, and we can kind of go into it maybe a little bit later, but, Ellie last week, we talked on the show, he was batting 269. Now he's down to 244.
Yeah, he had an awful week.
It's that bad. And we have, Spencer Steer still batting below 200. He had a good week a couple weeks ago. Now it's kind of wondering about him. Matt McClain as well. So it's really, I would say that, yes, they probably do need, a bat or 2 more to make this lineup actually pretty good. But there's enough hitters that it shouldn't be this inconsistent, which is the most frustrating part.
Yeah, the inconsistency is what's killing them. As Joe has alluded to, we will dive into it. I don't. The takeaway that I had from this weekend, Joe, is that had our hitters been in their good week, I think we really do take three of 4 from the Braves. I don't think the Braves are currently that much better than the Cincinnati Reds. What's really sad is that we barely won the game that Hunter Green was dominating in. It's just this team has a lot of growing to do. And I'm going to talk as well a little bit about how maybe, it's going to be tough to judge this first year of the Tito, era. I'm going to be really interested to see kind of how people feel. I don't really think he's making really many, if any, mistakes. I think he's mostly learning who the guys are and doing a good job of putting them in a position to win. But at some point, I am going to start questioning this lineup. And that's where I'm going to be having some issues here. And I know he's trying to give guys confidence and allow them to get out of their slumps. But the problem is when you have 4 players slumping at the same time, it pretty much takes your lineup and throws it, out the window. So, like I said, we'll dive into that a little bit more. We'll get through these real quickly. We'll head to Houston, Joe, where we knew that it was going to be a rough game against Hunter Brown. What I didn't expect was that Nick Martinez would be able to go further into the game. He'd give up 10 hits, but only 3 earned runs in this game. But he'd go 6 innings, and Hunter Brown struck out 9, and this was where it was really becoming concerning. The Reds were striking out a lot this week, Joe. I'll go over that. But what's even worse is 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. They were walking a pretty decent amount against Hunter Brown. They just weren't doing anything with it. They could not make it so that he was on his heels whatsoever. Hayes came back. He did get a hit, but the rest of this lineup was just pretty bad. to be honest with you. And we just had another kind of nothing burger game. And then on Saturday, the Reds were like, hey, I remember how to hit. And they put up 10 runs in the first inning, and they still made it close, which is what's even more frustrating is Brady Singer is given a 10-run lead and doesn't even make it out of the third freaking inning. I don't blame Tito for taking him out when he did, to be honest with you. It was wild. Will Benson would get his first hit of the season, which was nice. Ellie De La Cruz would finally hit a home run after almost a month drought, I believe it was, or at least 3 weeks. Matt McLean would also get his first home run, his first extra base hit in almost 3 weeks as well. It was a hit parade. I mean, the Reds would get 12 hits. Funny enough, they'd get out hit 14-12, but they just had more timely hitting. The bullpen would, for the most part, hold it down. Barlow would give up another run. Amelia would give up another run. But the Reds would go on to win this one 13-9, to your point. Connor Joe would also start in his first game. We'll talk about the trade of Connor Joe, but he would have 2 hits, including an RBI double, single, that he tried to stretch into a double more accurately. And then it was a very rough Mother's Day for the Cincinnati Reds. Chase Petty was brought back up to pitch again, and he struggled. 6 walks, 6 hits, 4 earned runs. He did have 4 strikeouts. He gave up the big home run. There was also a really weird dropped ball between Ellie and Gavin Lux. The bullpen would, again, for the most part, hold it down. But the Reds would get 2 hits. Spencer Steer and Jose Trevino with the only hits for the Reds. They would strike out 12 times, including 3 times by Ellie, even on one really bad call. And the Reds would end the week, Joe, at 2-5. Pretty awful considering how hopeful we were heading into this series. They are now 2 games under. And, I mean, dude, this series was almost more disappointing just for the fact that I didn't understand what was going on with them. Like, again, they scored 13 runs, and they did nothing in the other 2 games. Complete goose eggs. They had, what was it? It was 6 hits combined in the other 2 games, and only 12 even in the other one. I mean, even in the game they won, they struck out 11 times. I mean, it is getting to a point where, and by the way, Will Benson was 0 of those strikeouts in his one start, or in his first start. He only was 1 of the 12 in his second one. So looks like he's starting to see the ball a little bit better, which is good for him. But I mean, dude, this is awful. I mean, 15 strikeouts in game 1, 11 in game 2, and 12 in game 3. You're not even giving the defense a chance to make mistakes. You're not putting the ball in play. I mean, this is awful. I mean, really and truly, I don't understand what is going on. Do we need to be more aggressive in early counts? Are we just, I mean, we're one of the best teams in terms of walking, but I'll give this stat real quick, Joe. I was going to do it later, but we struck out 75 times in the last week, which was the worst in baseball by 14 strikeouts over a very struggling Orioles team. I don't know, dude. This was awful. I mean, this was horrible to watch, truly.
Yeah, congrats, Reds. This week you beat Grant Holmes, who has a 4.58 ERA on the season, and you beat Lance McCullers, who was making his second start in 1,000 days, pretty much. 915 days he has gone without pitching until he got 1 start before this.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's great. To me, it is very much an approach thing. I think people are trying too hard to hit the ball hard, and they're striking out because of it. They're not seeing the plate very well. They're not protecting the zone. We've had some bad umpires specifically this week. I would not say that they're at blame for the losses we've had because I think we've hit so poorly. But we're not protecting the plate. It's awful. The reason why I like Santiago Espinal is because he goes up there and he will try to put the ball on the bat. And he does that, and that's why he's hitting above 300. He's not going to stay above 300 the rest of the year. I know that. But that's what we need more of. That's why Joey Votto was so good. He would try to hit the ball and put it in play. He would try not to strike out. That was his big thing, is I don't want to strike out. I will take a walk or I'll put the ball in play. And yeah, we kind of like, sometimes we'd be like, oh, he didn't hit it that hard. A lot of singles or whatever, That's what we need more of right now, because it's not like this is why it's inconsistent, because we go up there, we're saying, hey, Kelly's value, part of his value is his power, and he has 6 home runs at this point in the season. It's not awful by any stretch, but I think we've all expected a lot more too, right? So this is a team that needs more consistency, and I know we'll talk about this in a little bit, Rob, but I think the lineup has to change pretty dramatically too. I think we're still batting Matt McClain in there to kind of keep his confidence. It's gone, all right? The confidence
Yeah,
is gone at
the
this point.
goodwill is
It's
gone.
like
Yeah.
we have to move him down. We have to put our best. We have to give our best players the best at bats. I would love for Matt McClain to be what we all expected, a 275, 280 hitter this year, a couple more home runs, not have the injury issues. He's just not there right now. And could he get there? Sure, but let him earn his way back up the lineup. Let him play with less pressure. I'm very happy with the job Terry Francona has done. I think this is a problem that is still built more on player development and also our front office. We've talked about how he's held people accountable. Alexis Diaz comes up for like 2 weeks basically, and then goes right back down. He didn't have anything left, so he's done that with other people as well. So I don't know. I think we have to do that. We have to talk about playing guys. Um, like Tyler Stevenson isn't hitting as well as the other catchers were at start this season. So like maybe you have to fix that. Move guys down the order like Matt McClain, like I said. Have guys like Connor Joe comes over and he's known for hitting lefties, and it's like perhaps starting him against righties, and it did work out for us, but like that's not maybe the right move. So there's a lot of things, little things I think they can improve upon. Again, I'm still happy with Terry. I think he's been given a lineup that is a little bit better than last year's, just with Austin Hayes and Gavin Lux, but we're still far and away from this roster being great. And I think we're seeing that, like we talked about, Rob, like this starting pitching staff is doing a great job this season, especially, I mean, pitchers 1 through 4 at the very least are doing very well. Bullpen's a little bit leaky, but like it's okay. We don't have stars in the bullpen. It's really the hitting that needs to come through, and it needs to start very soon. Otherwise, it's time to start thinking about playing some small ball. It's time to start thinking about shaking the lineup up and all this stuff. And to be honest, we talked about last year, Rob, about how bad they were early in the season and how it cost them later. They couldn't catch up later in the season. Not that I thought that was like a real possibility. They still have played one of the easiest schedules in baseball. Like this week, while the Braves and the Astros might be better than maybe the records say, specifically the Braves, you need to capitalize. So now we're 2 games under 500 with one of the easiest schedules in baseball. We have to go forward. I mean, this next week is about as important as any of them, because we start playing the White Sox, who stink, and then we get the Guardians, who have some decent players at the very least. We'll talk about them soon. But then you start getting into tougher teams. Like we play the Cubs twice in the next 3 weeks, or twice in the next 2 weeks. So this is like maybe the most important week of the season if there's any life left on this team. And after this past week, it's hard to see how that consistency comes about. Thank God we get an off day today, Rob.
They need it. If I'm Tito, you got to find that balance between, do you get them in there and do you just talk and kind of just walk through things with them and give them a breather and figure that out? Do you just give them the full day off to just take the pressure off themselves? I think a lot of it is pressure, to be honest with you. I think that's part of the problem, is you don't have a guy who can be that release valve for pressure, right? Like Hunter Green is that in the rotation. Even if everybody else has a relatively bad week, it's called for pitchers, right? It's called a stopper. And he is that guy. He has been that guy, especially over the last year and a half or so. They haven't needed it as much this year. Abbott's been pitching well. Lodola's been pitching well. Singer's exactly what we thought he was going to be. He's going to give up 3 or 4 runs a game, and that's just going to be who he is. He's going to have a stinker of a game every once in a while. He actually kind of reminds me of Bronson Arroyo, just in that sense, where it was like, you're going to get, what you're going to get, and is it going to be elite? No, but is it going to be solid? He's going to eat innings for you? Yeah. What's even worse right now is Nick Martinez is eating innings, but he's like getting taken out of the game with 75, 76 pitches, and that's because he can't get through that third time through the order right now, which has been kind of frustrating. So this team is, in my opinion, Joe, is by far, like, they're not out of it in any stretch. Like, they really aren't, but other teams are going to start figuring it out. Luckily, the NL Central is not very good. The fact that the Cardinals are 22-19, that's a facade. They'll come back down to earth. Even Milwaukee being 1 game under is not real. The Pirates just fired their manager over the weekend. The Cubs also, when I was looking up some of these stats, Joe, that I'll go over here in a second, they also have had an awful week. It's just that they've been able to hit through it. But they've been striking out a ton. Their ERA is really bad. They have like even worse whip and batting average against, I believe, than the Reds over this past like week or 10 days as they struggle with injuries as well. So we're just going to have to hope that we catch them at the right time, to be honest with you. But, it's just very deceptive when you see that the Reds have, almost 200 runs scored this year, which would be, they're one run under the New York Mets, who are 26-15 in terms of runs scored, but it's because they've scored like 50 runs in 3 games. Otherwise they'd be probably one of the worst offenses in baseball. So it's really disappointing. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me yet, and we're gonna kind of talk through it here and figure it out. Let's go through the injuries real quickly as well. Ian Jabot should be back soon. I have not heard much else on him, Joe, other than I believe he should either be starting a rehab assignment or already has soon. I don't know if you've heard something different on this one, but I may have missed it. I had stuff going on during the broadcast, so I had to have it on mute or I couldn't hear it. But
they sent him to. He's in AAA while Lauder's doing his. While Lauder's in Single A doing the rehab.
Yeah, and we'll go through. I knew where Mr. Lauder finally was. But Fraley went on the DL. He pulled something running to first the other day, so we'll see when he comes back. Sam Mole theoretically could come back soon. Whether or not they'll actually do it, I don't know. We talked about Tyler Callahan. He broke his forearm. Apparently the break wasn't it was bad, obviously, but apparently it wasn't terrible. He's not out for the season. The way that looked, you thought, he might be out for the season. He's basically going to be out for the season. In my mind, at least, it's hard to kind of, I think, come back and be at full strength from that, even though they said he could be back within 6 to 8 weeks. We'll have to see. Hunter Green did go on the 15-day DL instead of the 10-day DL. That might just be an overabundance of caution with him, is the way it sounded like, but he does have a grade 1, which is the lowest grade form of a right groin strain, but I mean, they know they're going to need him down the stretch, so if they want to try to compete. So I think that's kind of where that's at. Noel V. Marte also has an oblique strain, which is, people are always wondering. It's one of the most important muscle groups in baseball because there is so much torque, right? So that core area, that's why you see oblique strains in a lot of players. Just disappointing for him as it felt like he was really becoming a good part of this lineup. Rhett Lauder, like you said, made his first start with Dayton. It didn't go terribly well, but it wasn't bad either. CES is still on the IL. There's no determined release or return date. They are very much taking their time with figuring out what they're going to do with him. And then apparently Carson Spires may have started his throwing program sometime last week. So that's, every team is going to have a lot of injuries at this point, Joe. It just felt like this was kind of like a back-breaking one for the Reds to lose Hunter Green when they did. To have that. I mean, I think that the wind was taken out of the team on Monday when Callahan broke his arm and they had that home run given up. Fraley getting hurt this week as well was not great. No, Marte being hurt this week was not great. Now we have a bunch of guys up here who we but we hoped we would not have to see all at the same time. And they're getting big at bats, which is unfortunate. The Reds did try to counter this. They went out and they traded for Connor Joe. They traded Andrew Moore, who is one of the people who was a part of the Luis Castillo trade a few years ago. He's not really panned out. He's a AA 25-year-old, so it's not that he can never pan out, but it's a lot less likely at this point. Joe has been around for a while, Joe, but he had some of his best years were with Pittsburgh, you may remember. He had a good year in Colorado as well. He was a former catcher. He did play spring ball for the Reds for a very short cup of tea, and then I think the Reds cut him pretty early on. Like you said, the guy can hit lefties. He's got very minimal at bats so far this year with the Padres. He had 9 at bats, no hits during that time period, and 6 strikeouts. A little bit stronger start here for the Reds. 4 at bats, 2 hits, 1 walk, no strikeouts so far for him. He's just a depth piece. I think they just knew that they needed somebody else to be on this team, Joe. He can play a lot of positions, again, including catcher. So the Reds technically have 4 catchers on their roster right now, which is funny. But, you know, I don't know. This feels like a nothing burger as well. I think he'll come in and at least he's going to give you some professional at bats. I guess you could say, you know, you don't have young guys coming up necessarily and being, I don't know, that an issue, I guess is what I'll call it. He'll walk a decent bit. He'll see some pitches. He'll give okay at bats, and that's really about it. His best season was 11 home runs, 42 RBIs, 270 or 247 batting average. He did have 31 doubles that year in Pittsburgh, so you know he's got some gap power for sure. But he's 32, and I don't even know if he's going to be on the team here in a couple weeks. This kind of reminds me of like a Dwight Smith type thing, but we'll see.
I disagree a little bit. I think this is actually a pretty good move. I think this is a direct response to we can't hit left-handed pitching, and he historically hits left-handed pitching. He's around the league average every year, batting average-wise, most of the time. I mean, even last year took a little bit of a dip, but he plays multiple positions, as you pointed out. I think it's a good trade. I don't know. The biggest thing is going to be how they use him, right? Like, this is a guy that every time you play lefty, he has to be in the lineup. I don't care what anyone says. Find a spot because he can play so many different positions to get him in the lineup. And there's a rule for that on this team especially. So I would say that this is a cheap way to fix the problem. I'd rather them go big. But he's a very, I think, solid player. And he's better than a lot of our young players are right now. So I think that's going to be something we kind of look at in the next couple weeks. You're very right. They could be done with him in a couple weeks here and kind of like say, hey, you're done here. But I actually kind of like the move from a chance to you give up nothing basically, and you get a guy who can hit lefties.
In that regard, I agree. I mean, he didn't hit lefties much better last year than he did righties, but historically looking at it, you're right. He has. I just more feel like I don't know that he's that much better than some of the other options that we have, but we'll see. I hope that he is. It's just, obviously he got pushed out of a pretty deep Padres team is mostly what happened here with him. I think I'm hopeful that he can be helpful, like you said, against lefties. And if that's the case and they're just truly going to platoon him with like Gavin Lux or something like that, that's great. I just don't know if, you know, and maybe we will get lucky and he will be, you know, similar to like an Espinal type trade where it's just like totally kind of out of nowhere. And maybe he does, you know, perform pretty well for this team, you know, down the stretch. It just feels like to me, this is more of a stopgap, you know, stop the bleeding type of thing, put a Band-Aid on it, not really fix the issue. They still need, I think, a lot better hitters. But again, I could be wrong. Like, I would prefer it be your perspective. Normally, I'm the one that's super hyped up on some sort of move and can see it. I don't think it's a bad move, to be clear. I just don't know that I'll put it this way. This should not stop them from going out and doing something else. That's what I'll say. They basically gave up nothing for him. That's great. Just please go and actually fix the issue. Don't let Connor Joe be the one move that you make over the next month. That's where I'm at.
That's totally fair. I don't think this should be the end of what they do. They definitely need to get some more talent in the bullpen and more bats for sure. I just appreciate that he doesn't strike out as much as some of the other guys, and those outs are just costing us right now specifically. Yep. We have so many guys who have more strikeouts than games played. Ellie, very much so, obviously. Matt McClain. Spencer Steer, I think, still has more strikeouts than games played. And it's just like, hey, man, like I get it. It happens, especially if you have some power, but the power isn't there either, so it's not really worth it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And this will get us into an even more fun discussion is about what is going on with our Reds, right? Can they find a way to depart being a middling team, or are they just streaky? Kirk Herbstreit went on I wouldn't call it a tirade. Some people are calling it that. But he did go on a very passionate, and if you didn't know, Kirk Herbstreit is a very passionate Reds fan. I think even a secret Bengals fan. I don't know. I could be wrong on that one. But I know for sure he's a big Reds fan. He talks about it a lot. And he specifically said, so predictable, Reds, another year and another year of inconsistent hitting. Same thing for the last 12 years. essentially over in early May. How can a team not hit for 12 years? Feel bad for Tito, one of the best managers in our lifetime, and even he can't turn this franchise around. Just doomed. Now, he feels like all of us. That's why I'm calling this one out. I understand that some of you may not give two craps, two shits, whatever words you want to use that relate to poop. I used, I think, all three of them there, Joe. There might be more, but um, you may not care about Kirk Herbstreit's opinions, but I do think that people like him can put pressure on a front office. We are nearing the 20-year mark, I believe. I think this is year 19 since the Castellinis took over, and this team has yet to really develop hitters very much, Joe, which is kind of a big problem. I saw a tweet the other day. I can't remember who put it out. Might have been Lance, who said that the Reds have only developed one good hitting outfielder since the Castellinis took over, and it was a guy who got drafted 7 months before they came in Jay Bruce. Now, I don't know if I fully agree with that, but I don't also totally disagree. Feels like we've had just a lot of duds who have not been able to come in and get it done. It is very frustrating. I'll give some stats real quick, Joe, as well. Over the last week, like I said, 75 strikeouts, 14 more over the Orioles. They are third in walks given up as well. They're still striking out a decent amount, but I'm going to go through all these guys. Ellie's average has taken a nosedive. We thought he was sacrificing power for average. It's starting to look like he's not able to do either thing. Matt McClain has not hit since the first week of the season. Spencer Steer is in yet another slump after figuring it out a little bit. TJ Friedl has saw his average dive down outside of his 2 home run game. Gavin Lux is in a nosedive as well. Tyler Stevenson is walking a decent amount, but he is striking out every other at bat currently. There's not a person in this lineup right now who I fully trust. Austin Hayes is just coming back, but he can only do so much. I mean, Espinal, Trevino, and I guess I don't even know who else. Maybe just those three in terms of your guys who should be getting play time every day. The pitchers have struggled a little bit more with Stevenson as well. It makes me a little bit worried about that, to be honest with you. I liked it when it was just CES, Joe, and I know it was more than that, but we could really totally focus and be like, okay, well, at least some of these guys are still doing stuff. Right now, nobody is, and it's awful. I mean, this was a horrific week for this team. I mean, I'm honestly shocked they won 2 games, really and truly. I'm glad they did, because otherwise we'd be having a full-on meltdown, I think.
I mean, I'm pretty close to that right now, saying the season's basically over if they don't have a very good week this week. I'll put it that way. Yeah, I think it just comes into their strategy as a front office. Like, player development needs to be changed. Obviously, there's some things where our young players aren't reaching their full potential. But our front office is like, we're getting these guys who other teams don't want. So you mentioned with Connor Joe, obviously it's the same thing with Gavin Lux. The Dodgers didn't want him. And there's a lot of teams who would want Gavin Lux, don't get me wrong. But when you're trying to compete with a bunch of teams like the Dodgers and the Mets and the Phillies and all these big market teams, you don't go make a play, it's kind of tough. Like, and even Austin Hayes, like, there was a guy that, like, oh, we don't know last year about the kidney stuff. I would love to have a guy we know about. And as much as those guys have been good for us this season, we have 2 qualified hitters batting over 250. Better than last year, honestly, but still not great. We have like other teams, like the Pirates have, I think, about the same number of hitters who have above a 250 average. Andrew McCutchen being one of them, very good player, but obviously aging. We're trying to compete with these teams that have so many better hitters. We have to figure out, is our strategy going to continue to be, hey, we're going to get young players and not develop them, and also get other players that other teams didn't want and get them cheaply because it's a good deal? Or are we going to actually make a move and get someone good? Or are we going to try to develop our young players and try to make them better players? Because right now, it looks like Ellie is not reaching his full potential, to be honest. And it looks like the other guys aren't even close. Like, they're not even, like, CES, Spencer Steer, Matt McClain. Looks like they're so far removed from what we were kind of told they would be, what that 2023 season proved. I think there's just a lot of work to be done. Again, I'm still very high on Terry Francona. I think it takes a lot of time if these guys are as damaged as we kind of seemingly look at them and see them as, then It's going to take a lot of time to fix that. And I really do appreciate him, like even telling pitchers when they go out of the lineup, "Hey, thanks for eating those innings. Sorry I had to use you back-to-back days." He's been like very, I think, responsible as a manager and trying to build this winning culture. But it is so tough to do that when the players you are given are young players who aren't fully developed, and people expect to win right away. And there's these guys that, like, again, I'm glad we have Gavin Lux. He's hitting 282. That ranks, I think, like 44th in the league. That's good. That's your best hitter right now. That's not great. So there's a lot of I think things that need to change, but I think after getting someone like Terry Francona in, and again, I do want him to change the lineup a little bit. Don't get me wrong. A lot more pressure needs to be put on the front office than anything, because we still said, "Hey, Terry, come fix what we have," and we got some extra pieces, but again, just not the greatest. So I think more pressure needs to be put on them to evaluate better. To, it's great that they're basically getting goodwill from the public for the last several years, because 2023 we had a good streak of games. That's what it was. Like, we had some players kind of pan out in rookie seasons, and we had a good streak of games where people got hyped up about the Reds. We haven't really found that since. And the only thing I can say is that we have good pitching, but we've also emphasized pitching in the draft every year. So it's like, okay, that's great, but like, okay, eventually, can we focus on hitting and get a good hitter in this ballpark? I would love to see. I mean, I love Austin Hayes. I love Gavin Lux. I'd love to see lineups with them being higher up in the lineup, just getting them more bats. I think the days of, oh, you need your speedster to hit first and a guy who's kind of speedy to hit second, those are done. We're seeing Kyle Schwarber bat first for a lot of teams at different points. Just get your best hitters, whether it's home runs or average. I don't even care at this point. I typically prefer average higher up in the lineup. I don't even care. Just put whoever you think is actually hitting the ball higher up in the lineup. If it's home runs and a guy's hitting 200, but it has 14 home runs at this point in the season, who the hell cares? I'm about done. I think this all needs to change. Starts with the front office. The minor issue is just Terry Francona hopefully getting this lineup set up as best as possible. But even then, they're so inconsistent. Who knows if that's going to help?
What's really sad, Joe, is it's like, when a rookie player comes up and they play well, right? To me, at least, the league is gonna make adjustments, right? And learning to be a good big league player is learning how to adjust to the adjustments that have been made to you. What we are seeing right now is that none of these young players are making the adjustments to the adjustments that have been made to them, right? Steer is still swinging at balls that he's not going to make good contact with. He's a great hitter. Like, he's very balanced, like they talk about. I mean, they hammer that home to us on these broadcasts, and they're not wrong entirely. But the problem is that he's also taking swings at pitches that he's got no chance of really hitting, right? Like, yes, he will make contact with them, but the likelihood of him getting a hit is about 2 out of 10 times, which is where his batting average is right now, right? For Matt McLain right now, it's like any big sweeper that is going to start kind of middle out, somewhere around there, he's going to swing at. It's the same thing we saw with CES in that regard. I mean, we are getting taken out by pitches like that shouldn't even be close. And God bless Ellie, but it's like, I mean, he's swinging at balls, Joe, that are not even close, and he's watching fastballs and the perfect spots that he wants. I know he wants to try to be like a Juan Soto type hitter, and it's good that he's learning some plate discipline, but he is still striking out more than anybody else in baseball, and he's watching more strikeouts than I can even stomach at this point. Like, I want to see him just be more aggressive. I don't care if he strikes out the most times in baseball. If he's going to hit close to 270 and hit 30-plus home runs, who cares if he's striking out the most in baseball? I understand that that's frustrating. It's a thing that he can work on, but I'd rather that than this. I really would. What he's doing right now is he's just trying to guide the bat, really try to like make contact. He's only swinging hard at certain pitches, and that's part of development for sure. But like, there comes a point where maybe that's just not who you are, and you just got to embrace who you are. For Matt McLain right now, I don't think he is hitting an above 95-mile-an-hour fastball that's up-ish in the zone all season. I mean, every time, it's just not even close. It's just frustrating that I don't understand. Like, I know everybody's like going to want to blame Chris Valaika. I think he's going to get the boot here soon because I think the front office isn't going to want to, have to deal with the fallout from it. I could see even like somebody like Mike Napoli taking over, and then it's just going to be kind of the same thing, to be honest with you. And it's like they've got good minds around them. I mean, Mike Napoli was a solid hitter for many, many years. Terry knows what good hitters look like, right? One of my favorite hitters, of the last 25 years is Manny Ramirez. And, he just kind of did his thing, right? Like, Manny being Manny was a thing. Maybe Ellie should just be Ellie, right? Like, there's just so many little things right now that this team is not doing at the plate. They are watching weird pitches. They are swinging at weird pitches. I just don't know at what point, you talked about last year. I don't know that they're necessarily bad hitters, but at what point is it that their mental game is just so bad that you can't fix that, right? And I think that that's the question I'm starting to worry about, Joe, is are they just incapable of going up with a plan against a certain hitter? Are they incapable of adjusting that plan based on what they have seen either recently or, like within like the last few pitches or within their at bat, right? Like, these guys do have good swings. They have good speed. They have good power, right? They have good contact, but when you are striking out this much, it's not just a how good of a hitter are you? It's a what are you expecting pitch wise, and what are you prepared to do when that pitcher makes a mistake down the middle? Like, I don't remember a team that I've watched in many, many years that is not swinging at fastballs or hanging breaking balls because they just decide they're not going to swing at whatever ball is coming at them, unless if it's in this one spot. Like, I don't know, Joe. It's just the weirdest thing. It's been so frustrating to watch these at bats, and I just can't wrap my mind around where they are at mentally. The last thing I'll add on to this is they better hope that Derek Johnson never leaves this team, because right now his development of these pitchers has been the only thing that has kept this team afloat at this point. And I'm a little bit worried, like, why can't we find somebody kind of maybe hopefully similar to DJ that could do it for these hitters? Because one side is developing very well, very nicely. I mean, we are looking at an all-time great Reds pitching rotation. But if you can't hit, it's not going to matter. And all we're asking for is like 4 runs a game, dude. 4 runs a game, they probably go 5-2 this weekend instead. Like, it's that simple. I know, like, that's not how the scores ended up being, but I'm just saying, like, that's enough pressure on the other team. It's just, I don't know. It's just,
yeah.
I'm at a loss for words after that.
The approach has been bad, and it's been bad since last season. I thought it was a little bit improved to start the year, but I think they're going back into bad habits of letting pitches right down the middle go by and swinging a pitches way out of the zone. And it's just, I would have thought better discipline would have been here. I do think we're getting to a point with these guys where they are what they are. I'm not going to say you can never get better. I'm not going to say they can't go somewhere else and get better. But for us, they might be what they are because we're not developing hitters very well. Spencer Steer has how many at-bats now in his career? He's played all last year. I originally was going to say, hey, that's an injury issue, dude, but injuries don't help you see the ball better, one way or the other. Matt McClain, maybe he's just an injury-prone guy who has some pop in his bat, but maybe he isn't the best batting average. Maybe Ellie's just going to be a guy who strikes out all the time. Maybe he can never improve that because it looks like it's been just as bad as last year for those 3 guys specifically. It looked just as bad for Christian Encarnacion and Strand this year as it was last year. So all these young prospects we have, it's definitely one of those things where it's like, I know I said it last year, is like, hey, you need to start showing improvement or this is going to be who you are, however the people see you. That's what it's starting to get like. And yes, Ellie has a lot more value right now. Ellie has a very good player. We just thought he might be the elite of the elite, and it's looking less and less likely. So it's the kind of comparison here. We had some good prospects, and they came up and they did okay. Sometimes maybe a little bit too early. The Diamondbacks just brought up the number 4 prospect in baseball, Jordan Lawler. He was slashing .336, .413, and .579 in AAA this year. He was dominating AAA pitching. I'm not sure our prospects were that good at doing that. So something I think in the minor league system has to change to get these guys ready to play. And then when they get up here, yes, I'd like a better hitting coach, but I do think they need to go in the box ready to hit. You played so many games of baseball in your life. They are good enough to hit fastballs that are thrown right down the middle or a little bit high. Like you said, 95 miles an hour. At the belt for Matt McClain, you need to start hitting that ball, hitting doubles, hitting home runs. And you definitely don't, like, yes, everyone gets fooled by pitches sometimes. There's some very good pitchers in the leagues these days. Spin rates, everything. we just can't have this many strikeouts. You cannot be fooled this much. You can protect the plate, put the ball in play. Defenses are getting worse as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
People playing a bunch of different positions, like we're seeing with different like guys making errors and different things. Put the ball in play and see what happens. I mean, that's why again we talk about the Cardinals every year, like better than the record says they are. Like they are sorry, the record is better than they actually are. It's what they do. They teach their hitters to go put the ball in play, and it works. It's crazy. So I'm not like hitting the panic button yet for these guys, but I mean Steer's probably the closest because how much he's actually played of like, hey man, like it's about time you start producing again. But there is something going on with this team, and maybe these players are actually better than they're showing right now. But something has to change. It has to get fixed by the organization, or those players are just what they are for us. And that for someone else, they might be a great player. They might go off and we trade them, and they do what all the former Reds do and go kill us. But it's just I don't know how this changes because we just seems like we're falling back into bad habits, Rob. And I would like to think a hitting coach can help that, but at a certain point, you are the man in the arena, you're the guy in the box, and you're the one facing that pitcher. Do your homework, see what he's good at. They figured you out, go figure them out back. And it just seems like none of that is happening right now.
Yeah, the only one I will give a slight break to is McLean. He had a full season off. He's not even played a full season of baseball yet, and this would be like what I would quantify as a sophomore slump, right? Like I'm fully giving him a little bit of a break right now. I mean he has 122 games under his belt, right? Like not even a full season. He's still batting, if you combine all of that, 21 home runs, 65 RBIs, a 260 batting average. What's interesting, Joe, and I just wanted to check this, they are all walking more. All of them. Every person that you have named is walking more. And if you look at Spencer Steer, which is an interesting one, his stats last year were almost identical to what he did in 2023, except for the fact that he got 30 less hits. Like, that's it. And that's what's weird. Like, so he had 3 less doubles. Just wait 1 second. What I'm saying is he had 3 less doubles. He had 3 less home runs. He had 6 more RBIs. He had 4 more walks, and he actually had 2 less strikeouts last year. But his batting average went down 50 points. So it's like there's just something weird going on with these players where there's something that they are doing differently significantly to the point where like even Ellie is walking more this year than he has in years past. I almost wonder if it's just truly pitch selection for them. Like, I know it sounds like maybe I'm boiling it down too much, but that has to be at least part of it. I think a major part of it. Because, I mean, Matt McLean has 20 walks this season. He's got the most on the team, and he's walking at a pretty, incredible rate right now, actually. Especially for, like, his career. I mean, he had 31 walks in 89 games in 2023. He has 20 in 33 games. I mean, he'd be on pace for a 60 walk season right now. I really think that they might just be too patient. Like, and then they're not picking the right times for when to be a little bit more patient. Like if a guy like Hunter Brown is dicing you up, be a little bit more patient. That is okay. Work the pitch count. Get him out of a game early. Like, these are some of the basic things that I'm not seeing this team doing, or that I'm not seeing this team do right now. And I'm seeing it across the board with the young players. And generally, these are things you see from young players. But like you said, I mean, it's just, I don't know. They might just need more veteran hitters. I mean, maybe that's really just what it comes down to help them see more at-bats or something. I mean, this is a team that's going to sound so frustrating, but like this is a team that could really use Joey Votto. I know that he's retired, but like just a guy who could come in and really maybe help them understand the plate a little bit more. What to see. I mean, he's got one of the best eyes baseball has ever seen. Maybe he could come in and help Ellie, help Matt, help Steer, be like, hey guys, like, look, this is what you should really be looking for. This is how you're best going to make contact with the ball, like this type of pitch. I don't know. I might just be grasping for straws, but it's just like I am seeing regression, and I'm seeing it at weird places where you shouldn't see it, and then I'm seeing progression in things like walk rates, and yet they're still not getting better. And yeah, it's maybe Spencer Steer really is what he is. I mean, he might just be a guy who hits 230, not with a ton of power, but with gap power. And that's sad, but that just might be what he is. I'm not ready to give up anywhere close on Ellie or Matt, but they do need to start figuring out a better plan of attack right now. I will also say, I'll give one last thing. Matt McLean has also been really unlucky this year. Not just like where he's hitting the ball and it's going right at guys, but like, I don't know about you, but I'm seeing balls called on him for strikes that are like 2 or 3 inches above at least the proverbial shown zone. And I'm very confused as to how he is getting screwed that badly in that regard. But I'll let you go there. That was my little spiel on all of that.
Yeah, I definitely think McLean's gotten a little bit unlucky. I'm not sure it counts for maybe like 100 points higher that we really want him to be batting
No.
at this point.
No.
But I also, yeah, I think Steer's the closest to like the point where you're like, okay, we're giving up on you being a great player. You're just going to be baseline 220 hitter, whatever it is. Like, what this is going to do is like for this year, we have made our bed, right? Like, we can go get one more hitter, right? But we were kind of like building on this young core of players. At the end of this year, if you do have whatever happens, honestly, to be honest, like we have some decisions to make in terms of the future. What I'm afraid is going to happen is what always happens with the Reds, which we'll get to in a second. But if you get to the end of the year and Steer's batting 210 and McLean's batting, I mean, at this point to get his average up, he can do it, but 230 and Ellie had batted 250, and just kind of CES wasn't able to come back. You have guys collectively who can't stay healthy with McLean and CES. You have guys that I think still could improve on that, but it's like you have to figure out if you're going to put all the eggs in that basket for next year. Do you take at bats away from them? Who do you get to help the lineup? Because there's only so many spots, right? Like, yes, we knew we were bad in the outfield this year, but if we go get another outfield to go with Hayes and TJ Friedel, that takes time away from maybe Spencer Steer or someone. You know what I mean? So it's going to be decision time. And my biggest fear with the Reds, because they always do this, is they give guys too much time to figure it out. So this is coming from hey, do you give up on them now? No, because it's the middle of the season. You're not going to do that. Yes, you should move Matt McLean down in the order, let him figure it out. But we gave Billy Hamilton years to figure out how to hit. He couldn't do it. We gave Drew Stubbs years to figure out how to hit. Couldn't do it. A lot of times we give these guys so long to figure it out, and that's what ends up hurting us in the end. A lot of times the organization prefers to do that because it's cheaper to keep these guys when you still have control over them and everything, and they don't want to win. It's like, oh, well, it's cheap to keep Billy Hamilton, so we'll just keep him. We'll keep on batting him in the leadoff spot, even though he can't hit for average for anything. That's the biggest fear here. So we're not quite at that point, but if we go this year and we say, hey, those are the stats at the end of the year, it might be, hey, we want to go get someone else if you want to win. If you don't want to win, you just want to be cheap owners and not do that, fine. Keep on letting these guys continue to figure it out, and then in 2 or 3 years, might have a lot of Billy Hamiltons that we end up getting rid of. And that's something that's been ingrained in any Reds fan ever. Just you can only give these guys so long. Like, they are professional athletes. They are young. Give them a couple of years. But if they're not figuring it out by then you have to maybe move on. And again, this Ellie's immune from this in my regard. And Matt McLean's still immune to this. But by the end of the year, if he's at this point, that's something we can talk about. But Ellie, I guess Ellie's ceiling maybe might be impacted by that. But the other guys, it's like, do you get more out of them by having them in the lineup at that point? And that's something we may not have answers to at the end of this year. And it's just something that's, again, going to haunt Reds fans if we have given all these guys so many at-bats. We were told they're ready to compete in 2025. They've told us that a lot of times. And it's just like, okay, restart it because we can't develop players. Give the next guy 5 years to figure it out in the major league level, which just isn't normal. And then we'll keep on cycling through. So that's my caution. I think this year we're going to ride with these guys. Again, maybe get 1 or 2 more bats at the deadline if we're lucky. But they have to figure it out and figure it out by the end of the year. Otherwise, it does. Tito's old. He wants to win. So it's going to cause some friction in the front office if they don't figure it out soon.
I will tell you guys, I don't like this, but Billy Hamilton batted 236, 247, 260, and 226 before the Reds got rid of him, and 250. So, I mean, take that as you will. We'll move on real quick. Chase Petty, he is not ready. He is not ready. He is young, and it's fine. You can take your lumps. I was actually kind of thinking about him in comparison to Homer Bailey. Obviously our hopes and dreams are not riding on him like they were with Homer Bailey, back in the day. He was obviously a very different type pitcher, but in 2008, 2007, like Homer got lit up. I mean, he got lit up for a couple years there, really, before he kind of settled down, and the Reds gave him that big contract, unfortunately. But, he just doesn't look good at all. I can see what's going on with him, in terms of like I can see the promise that he has. He's very young. I think that he has got a real opportunity to be a very good player, but I don't know that it's going to be in Cincinnati. I'm not giving up on a guy overall, but I just think when you've got Chase Burns and Rhett Lauder coming up, I just don't know that Chase Petty is going to be the guy who is going to be able to kind of push them off, right? Like, the future of this rotation is Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, Rhett Lauder, and Chase Burns, most likely. I appreciate that Chase Petty's 22 years old. He is still very young, and he will figure it out, I think, at some point. But if I am the Cincinnati Reds right now, this is the guy that you are shopping. It's a stark contrast between him and Rhett Lauder. It really is. Chase Petty even made it up into the top 100 prospects again. Joe, I don't know if you saw that on the top 100 prospects list, but he has worked his way onto it. I think that's awesome. Pitching is a place where they have depth right now. I personally would love for them to just go out and just make this one happen. Go get somebody and use him as the bait, because I don't think I can knowingly, like, I sat there yesterday and my mom was excited to watch the Reds game, and I said, you should not expect very much of the Reds in this game.
Yeah, I don't know if that's more about Chase Petty or the fact that they scored a lot of runs the night before, but
that could be both. Yeah, could be both.
Yeah, they used up all their runs, and that's what. Just if the Reds score a lot of runs, always bet against them the next day. Yeah, with him, I think it's tough. He just needs more time. You can definitely shop him. I don't know what the value is now that he's come up and gotten rocked. But there might be someone who still believes in him, so you could chop him. You could just kind of continue to put him down there, let him develop. You could move him to reliever, which we're doing with Connor Phillips, which seems to be going okay, to be honest.
Oh, I've not even looked at that. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, he seems so far. I haven't checked in the last day or two, but before that, seemed like it was starting very well. For me, the biggest problem was he just couldn't locate his pitches. Right, like 4-seam fastballs, they were just like all right down the middle for the hitters, and like they could just tee off on him. The slider, he couldn't really locate in the zone very well. I think he's a guy who just needs to work some more on some location. So not willing to give up on him yet. It's just for this team this year, maybe he doesn't have a role. Like, hey, go to AAA. You work on that the rest of the season. Maybe next year you can compete for a spot at the back end of the rotation. Probably not with the guys we have. If that's the case, maybe move him to reliever, just like we did with Graham Ashcraft, which seems to be working out okay. Other than he's slipping a little bit recently. That's expected. That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. All right, this has already been long. We're going into it real quick. White Sox. Bad team. The Reds will face Jonathan Cannon against Andrew Abbott. Davis Martin versus Nick Lodolo. And then Bryce Wilson versus Nick Martinez. Joe, I'll just let you hop into it here. How are you feeling about this team? How are you feeling about this game right now? Or these games?
Yeah, this is one of the worst teams in baseball. They are a team that we are getting at a good time for different reasons. They have a lot of players who are injured, and they're also bad, so add that on top of things. Not really many threats in the lineup that I see. Just, we've obviously been in trade talks. Robbie and you have talked about the trading for Luis Robert a lot, and it's just like that guy's still having issues. Team you should sweep. You have to sweep. If this season means anything to you, you have to sweep this team. There are pitching guys who are around 4 ERA or worse, and as we've stated, they can give up 4 runs. We can't score 4 runs ourselves, so I don't know if we can get to that point. I would say I'm going to pick sweep. This is my last shred of hope on the Reds, Rob. As we need to win 4 games this week, I'll predict sweep here, and I think it might give us more issues in the next one. But this team, like if the Rockies weren't so bad, this would be the team everyone was talking about is like 12-29 already. Come on.
Yeah, they are struggling. They can't hit. I mean, they really genuinely can't hit. This should be a good matchup for our pitching staff. You've got Abbott, you've got Lodolo, and Martinez has even been figuring it out. You've got them at home. Luis Roberts, funny enough, has a stat line that looks like Matt McClain's right now. It is pretty similar, or maybe Spencer Steers. So he is walking a lot. This team has a tiny bit of pop from, Benintendi, from Robert, excuse me. Andrew Vaughn as well. You'll want to pitch around a little bit, but even those guys who I just named, like they're not people who I'm like, oh, you should be like shaking in your boots about. They don't even have a closer, like at all. They've been using Cam Boozer, looks like a little bit more in some of these high leverage situations, but they've got one guy, it looks like, who is kind of decent in Mike Vasil. That is really, and Steven Wilson. There you go. I found him. There you go. There are their guys. That's about it. Guys who everybody probably knows. So we're dodging their starters that have had a good season. Shane Smith has had a good start. Martin Perez, I think, may be injured, but he's been okay for them as well. This is a team that you should absolutely sweep. I've lost a little confidence in this Reds team, Joe. I'm going to pick 2-1. I as much as I'd love for them to go out and sweep, I think they're going to find a way to lose a close game. They're going to find a way to lose like 2-1 on a Luis Robert home run, and then everybody's going to be coming in here and being like, they should have traded for him. He couldn't have done this against them if he was on their team. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this one. So we'll move on to the Guardians. A much better baseball team. The AL Central, funny enough, has been the best team in baseball over, I think it's the last 10 to 12 days, including the White Sox, who have won, I believe it's 4 of 6, something like that, 4 of 7. But the Guardians are a good team. I mean, they're solid. They're solid all around. They are getting some big hits from guys like Kyle Manzardo. He's got 9 home runs this year, but he's batting, better than our guys, but still around 200. Even Jose Ramirez, by his standards, is having a bit of a down year. It's really Stephen Kwan, Daniel Schneemann. Who else is here? Angel Martinez is hitting as well for them, it looks like. So they're consistent. They're solid all around. I don't know if you found who we're going to be going against pitching-wise. Their pitching has actually been a little worse this year than it normally is for them. Even old friend like Ben Lively, who's been okay this year, is over there getting some starts. But their starting pitching has been, I would say, average-ish. Their bullpen has been average-ish, but they're getting the job done. Even Emmanuel Clase, who is one of the better closers in baseball, has a 5.19 ERA, Joe, and has it's not like he's had one major game that's blown up his ERA. He's just kind of given up some here and there. So this is a tough squad. I mean, they're consistent. That's for sure, and they've got the record to kind of show it.
Yeah, not a team you want to be facing when on a week you need a bunch of wins. I mean, we're fortunate to have the White Sox. Stephen Kwan's one of my favorite players in baseball to watch.
He's very fun.
So good these last couple of years, hitting the ball. Again, I prefer guys who can get average, get on base. 2.4 WAR as a guy who has 4 home runs is ridiculous at this point in the season. That's what he does. So I like watching him. We're supposed to get Bybee, Ortiz, and Lively. I think there's some chance that we can maybe at the end of that series specifically maybe get a win. I'll say 1-2 against the Guardians. I do think they're a better team than we are, especially right now. But overall, I think they're a better team than we are too, especially with Hunter Green not being able to go for us this week. That kind of puts them above us in my mind. But I'll say 1-2, and maybe we pick off Lively in that last game if he actually is the starter. I don't know. I think that's kind of what I'm going with.
Yeah, what's interesting is we are getting the 2 teams in this division that have a negative run differential. The Guardians specifically really are playing above how they've been doing. I mean, they've scored only 164 runs, given up 181. So there is an opportunity here for the Reds. I've been wavering between 2-1 and 1-2. I know this team's better. I'm gonna go 1-2 only because of the fact, truly, Joe, that it's Singer in a bullpen. Again, Singer's not a bad pitcher whatsoever. It's just that I don't know that this team is going to be able to hit enough to give him the support that he needs. He's going to give up 3 runs. in the first 3 innings, 2 or 3 runs. That's just what he does. And whether or not he settles down and can get through 6, without giving up that all important 4th run or not is an I don't know. But if this team can hit, I think they can win that Singer game. And then I think, Andrew Abbott's getting his 2 games this week. I think they could potentially take that Sunday game. So we'll have to see. I'm not too confident. I think they're going to do a bullpen game, Joe, by the way, where Hunter Green's start would be. I can't imagine they're going to run Chase Petty back out there to get his brains beat in, but I could be wrong on that. So we will have to see. It is an important week for the Reds. If they can find a way to go 5-1 with Joe's prediction and find a way to win 2 against the Guardians, I think that we will be feeling a lot better. No, I was saying 5, as in like if you, with your sweep, and then if they find a way to win 2 against the Guardians, that would be 5-1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's what you were saying. No, you did not say that. I'm saying if they could find a way to do that, that would be good. I see, obviously you have them going 4-2, which would be great. Even that would be great. That gets them back to 500. So if they can do that by the end of this week, I think we'll be feeling a lot better. But it's really going to come down to how are they going to use this off day? Is it going to be enough to get these guys, I think, mentally ready for a very important week of baseball for them? I mean, this White Sox team is pretty bad. They've been winning games. Funny enough, I think almost half their wins are against the Red Sox, if I remember correctly. So we will have to see, if red is the color that the White Sox see when they are out there on the field and getting their wins. So we appreciate all of you who are sticking around with us. This Reds team will figure something out. They will go on a stretch run again, and they will bring us back in. They do it every season, so we can at least hold on for whenever that generally happens. But that, I guess, before we leave, Joe, you got any words of wisdom for us?
Oh, just looking at the future possibly with some of the struggles this week. Chase Burns still dominating, 3.09 ERA in high A Dayton, which gives him a 2.45 ERA this season. 2.45 ERA overall, 1.93 in Chattanooga after getting called up from Dayton where he's 3.09. He has 41 strikeouts in 25.2 innings this season. Guy who's going to be coming up the ranks fast. I don't know how they're going to use him. I don't know if he's going to be trade bait. I don't know if he's going to be a 5th starter. I don't know if he's going to be moved to the bullpen for this run. I don't know if they're going to keep him in the minor leagues just for this whole season, just to let him develop. But it is nice to have a guy like that pitching so well in the minors, and we'll see how it comes of it.
Reds pitching is not really much of an issue. The biggest problem is the hitting, guys. So we will see. I would expect them to potentially be moving pitchers here soon if they are going to make a trade for a hitter. So keep that in mind. I don't think Burns or Louder are going to be those guys, but I don't know. Maybe somehow they can go find somebody really freaking good. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that is going to wrap it up for us on this one, guys. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.